Gabriel Elizondo is live for us in Sao Paulo. How's it looking there, Gabriel?
Well, Sao Paulo, things are fairly peaceful. About 30 to 50,000 protesters were on Avenida Paulista. They are still there, but in the rest of Brazil, there's a much different story playing out at this very moment. Let's first go to Brasilia, the capital, where about 25,000 protesters are in tense standoff at this very moment with riot police. The protesters were just repelled from trying to enter the National Congress building a few minutes ago. In the last few minutes, the protesters are now heading towards the Foreign Ministry building. There are about 3,000 police officers in the capital trying to maintain security around the key buildings. President Dilma Rousseff has deployed about 200 Army special police soldiers to circle the presidential palace to keep protesters away from there. In a city called Campinas, which is just about an hour outside of Sao Paulo, we're seeing running street battles between protesters and riot police there. And in the city of Rio de Janeiro, where we're hearing of upwards of 300,000 people are protesting, we're seeing small bands of some of the most aggressive protesters also in running street battles with riot police outside of the mayor's office at this very hour.
So, Gabriel, how are the demands evolving then at this point? Because the government's already made some concessions on transport fares, hasn't it?
They have, but Sammy, this has gone way beyond a simple 20-cent transport fare issue here in Sao Paulo. The government is right now, for no other lack of a better term, in crisis. And they are trying to figure out at this very hour how to deal with this. The President Dilma Rousseff has not gone on TV or spoken about this at all today. What you basically are seeing in cities around Brazil right now, Rio, Campinas, as we mentioned, even in Brasilia, you're basically seeing mayors and political officials trying to prevent their offices from being taken over. Now, I will stress, the vast majority of these protests right now at this hour in Brazil are peaceful. The vast majority are peaceful, but things as the night is going on here in Brazil, and it's a little after 8 p.m., there are starting to be some real tensions brewing, and where this end point is at, we simply don't know, because the protesters have a lot of demands and a lot of different demands. This is really a aggression they're letting out, or a voices being letting out. There's not simply one thing they want anymore, it's multiple things.
Who are we seeing coming out on the street? Are we seeing new sections of society coming out and joining these protests, Gabriel?
We are. Initially, Sammy, this started out as a movement driven by the Brazilian youth, and in a lot of ways it still is the youth. I mean, people from 15 to 25 to 30 years old that are really providing the energy for this. But what we have seen in the last 24 to 36 hours especially is a greater cross-section of Brazilian society getting in on this movement. If they're not out there on the streets, they're at least applauding along the sidelines. But it is a youth movement, and it's very apolitical. It's not being driven by any political party. I can tell you on Avenida Paulista here in Sao Paulo, that's the main avenue here, there were some Workers' Party people that were trying to come out. That's the Workers' Party, the party of President Dilma Rousseff, trying to take part, and they were shouted down, saying you don't belong here. This is a non-political rally. So it's mostly youth driving this, but also a cross-section of disenfranchised Brazilians.
All right, Gabriel, we're going to thank you at this point, but we're going to continue to talk about this.